Yo, what is up, guys? I'm me, Dr. Sandy. I'm another one of these, and I'm going to talk to you about one of Naruto's like Minato, aka Return of the Fly. Let's get into this. Naruto Smile, you have a very nice name, Kurama. The newly dubbed Kurama Smile. Thank you. It means a lot coming from someone whose name means fish cake. Kurama smirked at the end, intentionally making the jab at Naruto's name to see if he could rile up the boy. His success was only minuscule, though Naruto only had a tiny frown on his face, instead of a full-blown childish rage Kurama was expecting. Actually, I prefer the other meaning of my name. Maelstrom is much better than being compared to a fish cake, Kurama. Kurama chuckled a smooth, deep baritone. That lit up a warm feeling inside Naruto. Naruto decided he liked Kurama's voice. No one would think of you as Maelstrom. That they look at you, Naruto. Perhaps when you're older. Certainly not now, Kurama teased him. Naruto shrugged, and then his eyes turned serious, making Kurama do the same. Naruto asked the Biju, Kurama, you know I have questions, right? Kurama nodded. I assumed as much, however, I had expected us to meet when you were significantly older. I have to say I was not expecting you to call to me. Naruto shook his head. Well, if it makes you feel better, I was not expecting you to pull me inside my mind. He said, absently noting that he was not wet at all, in spite of standing and sitting in the water. Kurama returned to his earlier position, lying down, face on his palms. I will do my best to answer whatever question you have, Naruto, he assured him. Naruto gave him a nod of gratitude and sat down as well. Okay, my first question. Why does my mindscape represent a gutter or a sewer? Whatever you want to call it. Kurama looked silent for a moment, after which a mysterious grin broke out on his face, exposing his sharp canines. You know what they say about people whose minds are in the gutter, right? Naruto gave him a blank look. You better eat your food. Naruto gave him a blank look, and reminded Kurama that Naruto, however intelligent for his age, was still only 5 years old. Kurama's embarrassed blush would have been visible on his face if his fur were not orange. He cleared his throat loudly to avoid embarrassment. Sorry, Naruto, but I have no idea why your mindscape is a sewer. There's a theory that says that your mindscape is a reflection of your mental state. It could have been the physical trauma that was given to you by the villagers. But why this particular sewer, I do not know, he replied. Naruto absorbed the information like a sponge. After a few seconds, he asked Kurama, so I have physical trauma. I knew about that, which means that even if I change the appearance of my mindscape to something else, there will still be something that represents the trauma, right? Kurama inclined his head in agreement, smiling a little. That's right. I have to say, though, it's nice to talk to someone who is intelligent. Naruto's eyes visibly brightened up at the praise given a full-blown smile to his newest friend. Kurama noted with some amusement the grin looked very similar to his own and a redhead. Naruto jumped to his feet. Your answer just confirmed something for me, Kurama. His eyes had a mix of excitement and determination to them, as if he was about to do something new. Naruto closed his eyes and clapped his hands together, face scrunched up in concentration. Kurama observed him quietly, wondering what his host was about to do. Actually, guys, also go check out Quietly. He's a YouTube channel. He makes a lot of good Naruto. Yeah, but let's continue. Naruto snapped his eyes open after a few minutes, having envisioned what he was about to do. With a cry of "Ha!" he slammed his right hand on the ground. What happened next completely blew away his mind. A wave of energy exploded from Naruto in all the directions, completely lighting up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Let me see your hands right now. Eat your food. Because I know you just gave Chloe something to eat. I know you gave Chloe something. So. What? Yeah, Janet said that you need to eat your breakfast. So eat your breakfast. Janet did say that. She said what? He slammed his right hand to the ground with completely happiness blew in his mind. A wave of energy exploded from Naruto in all directions, completely lighting up the monkey and almost blowing Kurama. What is that? What is it? Chakra that exploded from him? How is that even possible when he hasn't even unlocked it? Yet that pulse of chakra completely shredded everything it came in contact with. Naruto may have possibly destroyed his own mind. With a thought running through Kurama's head. When he opened his eyes, however, he was stupefied to a degree he didn't think was possible. His eyes were wide, his jaw was hanging, making him look quite comical. A beautiful valley greeted his eyes, grounds that were lush, and a shade of gray that looked heavenly. That looked heavenly. Streams that with water clearer than he had ever seen before. The massive oak tree with a shade that made it great for naps. The cage around him had disappeared and instead replaced with a collar which had the same piece of paper from before with the kanji for seal written on it. He looked at Naruto and wondered. This kid was a package of one surprise after another. Naruto got up from his position, looking no worse for wear. He smiled satisfactorily. This is much better than before, wouldn't you agree, Kurama? He asked, turning to him. Kurama was smiling like he was the happiest being on earth. No one had ever done anything for him, and Naruto, who had just met him, had already done so much for him. Kurama looked at Naruto with gratitude in his eyes. Thank you, Naruto. You have no idea how much this means to me. Naruto just shook his head at him. Don't worry about it. We are friends, right? Kurama nodded, feeling excitement in a long time, wanting to explore what Naruto had created for him. He was about to leave when Naruto's voice stopped him mid-step. However, it seemed strange that there was no presence of a celestial body in the sky. I had a vision, like outside I had a vision just like outside he knew a frown on his 5-year-old face that would have earned so many squeals of kawaii from girls. Kurama too wondered what that reason could be, and quickly figured it out. He looked up in thought. Perhaps it's because of the seal, he muttered. Naruto looked at him with confusion written clear on his face. What do you mean? Kurama looked down at Naruto. The seal that keeps me inside of you. If it was only you, you would have absolute control over your mindscape. But since I am here as well, the control gets divided equally. However, control on my side is restricted because Control is restricted on my side. Look, shut up! It's not. Control on my side is restricted. It's restricted because of the seal, the absence of the sun or the moon that you envision could signify that this place is cut off from my senses. In other terms, the outside world, he explained. Naruto processed Kurama's answer. If the Sia was restricting Kurama's activity, what do you propose I should do, Kurama? Kurama put his hand under his chin. He could only see one way around this. And if Naruto messed it up, it could spell trouble for the both of them. But he would try his best not to let that happen. You have to tear off a very small piece of paper on my collar. Leave the rest to me, Kurama assured him. When Naruto looked a bit hesitant, Kurama told him, don't worry, Naruto, you can do it. If something goes wrong, I will take care of it. The reinsurance erased any doubt from Naruto's face, and he promptly marched up to Kurama's collar, making sure to tear only the smallest piece of paper. Kurama nodded in satisfaction and approval. He could just feel a tiny bit of control get back to him. Just a snap of his fingers and the sun appeared, lighting up the valley, and Naruto smiled at the sight, but it faded at the sight of a cave that he instinctively knew not to go near. He turned back to Kurama with an expression of curiosity on his face. Naruto, what was that razor? Naruto gave him an innocent look. It is my mind, Kurama. I can make anything happen here. As for the energy wave, his expression turned sheepish and rubbed the back of his head, reminding him of the boy's mother, who had the same habit. It just seemed cooler than simply changing the surroundings in the blink of an eye. This time, it was Kurama who gave a blank look. A sweat drop appeared on his face, on the side of his head. At the sheepish laugh of his she shook his head. It seemed like Naruto liked to be a dramatic smartass. He concentrated and nodded in satisfaction. He could now sense chakra signatures of almost the whole village. Once Naruto opened his eyes, Kurama would be able to see as well. Nevertheless, you have my thanks. Allow me to repay you with something that will come in very handy once you become a shinobi. Kurama smiled, raising a fingernail and very gently touching Naruto's forehead. The nail shined for a moment and then faded. Naruto raised the eyebrow. What was that? Kurama smiled mysteriously. Why don't you discover it yourself? I can feel several chakra signatures closing in on you. It's time for you to open your eyes, Naruto. Naruto nodded and turned to leave, but froze. He slowly turned around and smiled embarrassingly. How do I leave? Kurama had to squash the urge to facepalm. It seemed that Naruto had his moments of stupidity every now and then. Just jump in the water, fish cake, he said, exasperately. Naruto frowned at fish cake but nodded, and with a leap that was impossible for a child his age, jumped in the water. Kurama shook his head amused. It was only because Naruto was in his own mindset that he was able to do so. Perhaps I should have told him that he could get out of here with just a thought, he mused. Then he removed that thought, immediately. Not too much fun messing with him. Naruto opened his eyes slowly, without hurry. He was thinking about what gift did Kurama give him when he felt it like someone was coming his way. He slowly turned his head around, face planting at the sight. Dozens of people, knives, clubs, crowbars in hand, excited expressions on their face, shouting, "Today is the day you die, demon! We will finish what the Yandai started, and we will avenge him!" Naruto's expression had turned utterly horrified. There was only one way to get out of the monument without falling splat on the pavement. Outrun and outmaneuver the mob. He wasted no time. He kept up to his feet and immediately started running in a perpendicular direction to the mob. That since he had been running regularly for 1 year, he had built up some pretty good speed and endurance. His plan was to take a wide arc around the mob as soon as it was behind him, hightail into the streets where he could lose them. He took off into the forest, the mob following him closely behind as he began to cut an arc around the mob. Hairs on the back of his neck stood up, a clear sign of danger. However, unlike before, when he could detect danger, this time he could feel the direction the weapon was coming from. Naruto was an imaginative child. From where he had developed his imagination, no one knew. But there was one thing that his imagination that even he knew was not normal. His body had the most unnatural and peculiar ability of following the commands of his mind to a T. As soon as he sensed the knife speeding at him, he thought of only one escape scenario, and his body followed it as it did before several times. Just not in a life or death scenario. He jumped in the air, rotating like a screwdriver, the knives going under him, missing him by just a few inches. He rolled on the ground to soften his landing and continued running away, getting the mob behind him and the road in front of him. He managed to get to the streets where he purposely chose the market street where he could lose them. He knew civilians could not do the tricks that he could. He evaluated neatly over several carts without losing momentum, each time increasing the gap between him and the mob. He turned left and in the gap between him and the mob, he turned left and intersection and jumped up a wall hanging on the other side. He was sure the sounds of the mob faded away. He jumped back on the road. He took a moment to catch his breath. If he was not mistaken, he had run at full speed for close to 3 miles. Impressive for a 5-year-old, the familiar voice of Kurama sounded in his head. Naruto looked surprised for a moment, but then shook his head. It was probably because of the change that he had done to the COC. So he also chalked it up to adrenaline that he had run so far and fast. That was a lot difficult than he had imagined, but he blamed it on his clothes. An orange jumpsuit stuck out like a sore thumb among the masses. It was as if he had stuck a piece of paper behind his back saying, "Kill me." The blonde hair wasn't helping either. But then again, he had nothing else to wear. The keepers at that orphanage looked very satisfied when they had given him the jumpsuit. They probably wanted him to be spotted in case he attempted to hide from a mob. Too bad they underestimated him. So deep he was in Mustangs that he didn't notice he had entered area Konoha. No one had taken a stroll in for at least 5 years. He looked when he saw he was standing before the gates of a beautiful mansion. This is the part I heard of. This is the part I heard of in 100. Okay. Naruto opened the gates of the mansions. Let's explore. Naruto opened the gates of the mansion. Let's explore. Kurama's excited voice sounded in his head. Naruto shook his head. I would be an idiot to even touch the gate. Can't you see the seals engraved in it? Kurama insisted, "Do it. Who knows? You might get a surprise." Naruto frowned at the behavior of the fox, but followed his advice anyway. He placed his hand on the seal of the gate and closed his eyes as if waiting to be blown up. He didn't notice the seals glow slightly. He opened his eyes when nothing happened. Tentatively, he pushed the gate, and to his surprise, it opened easily. The seals must have malfunctioned. If a stranger like me could enter in here, he thought. The mansion was beautiful. It was a traditional two-story mansion surrounded by lush green grounds. There was even a small pond with clear water in front of the house. Whoever this house belongs to, they must be insane to this must be insanely wealthy, he thought with wonder. Money was something that was really available to him. He decided not to dwell on it further. As he approached the front door, he began to think it was a bad idea coming here. What if someone spotted him? What if he accidentally activated a trap? He cautiously turned the doorknob, hearing it click. Upon hearing it click open. He opened the door, fully seeing the dark living room with a sofa and comfortable chairs. He turned on the lights, surprised that the electricity still flowed in the circuits of the house, but it was all covered in a thick layer of dust. The owner has been gone for a long time, but why? He wondered as he turned in the direction of the fireplace. He stopped short when he saw at what he saw. The first thing that caught his eye was the uniquely shaped kunai embedded in the stone slab placed on the top of the fireplace. Every shinobi to be shinobi worth his or her salt would recognize the three-pronged kunai. It was the Yondaime's kunai. He now knew that he was in the house that belonged to the deceased Hokage. Crap. He had just broken into the Yondaime's house. Double crap. He was just about to turn tail when Kurama's voice said in his head, "What's that?" He turned around again, seeing a portrait above the fireplace for the first time, and it was Minato Namikaze's decked out in a full Hokage uniform, along with a beautiful red head, wearing high-collared sleeveless wearing a high-collar sleeveless blouse under a long, loose-fitting dress with a wristband on her left wrist and standard shinobi sandals. A medium-sized bulge on her stomach made him realize that she was pregnant, but that was not what caught his eye. The redhead was waving a peace sign with a very familiar grin that the same one he wore whenever his mischievous tendencies surfaced or when he was really happy. Her face was also very similar looking to his own. Her exquisite violet eyes were shaded just like his eyes. With a jolt of the pieces of the puzzle that he could never solve arranged himself, forming a long sought after answer. Blonde hair, azure blue eyes, a familiar grin, same shaped face, identical shaded eyes. He had just found out the identities of his parents. Congratulations, kid. You finally found them. Kurama's smooth voice was softer this time. Okay, let's go, guys. We just found out Naruto's true parents, even though some of you Naruto fans already knew, probably. But if you guys are not Naruto fans and you do not know, you should actually go watch Naruto because it's a good series. I haven't been posting in a long time because I was too busy just watching Naruto, bro. I was too busy watching Naruto, so that's why I haven't been posting in a long time. But you guys should definitely go check it out. This has been Dark Sand out. Peace.